The black ships appeared in Earth's sky like death itself. Admiral Vextar watched from his command bridge as his fleet of 50 massive vessels took position around the small blue planet. His 4 yellow eyes gleamed with satisfaction as he read the reports about these creatures called humans. "They're weak," he said to his officers. "They fight each other constantly. They have primitive weapons that barely work beyond their own world. This will be easy." The alien ships were enormous. Each one was bigger than the largest human cities. Their dark metal hulls blocked out the sun as they moved into attack formation. Inside the ships, thousands of Kethmer soldiers prepared their weapons and checked their armor. They had done this many times before on many different worlds. On Earth, Dr. Kim Dae-ho stood in his laboratory at Seoul Observatory. His hands shook as he looked through the telescope at the alien fleet. He had been studying space for 30 years, but he had never seen anything like this. The ships were beautiful and terrible at the same time, Professor Kim, his young assistant. Choi Mina said quietly, "The government is calling. They want to know what you think about these ships." Dae-ho kept looking at the alien vessels. Each one had weapons that could destroy entire cities. Their technology was hundreds of years ahead of anything humans had built. But something burned in his chest as he watched them. It was not fear, it was anger. "Tell them these aliens have better technology than us," he said. "Then their ships are more powerful than anything we have. But also tell them something else. Tell them we are still here. Tell them we are not going anywhere." Around the world, other scientists were having the same conversation. In London, Professor Sarah Chen counted the alien ships and calculated their firepower. In Moscow, Dr. Dmitry Volkov studied their movement patterns. In Tokyo, Dr. Yamamoto Kenji analyzed their energy signatures. All of them came to the same conclusion. The aliens were far more advanced than humans, but none of them suggested surrender. The alien ultimatum came at exactly noon. Radio, every television, every computer on the planet received the same message. The voice was cold and mechanical, translated by alien computers into hundreds of human languages. "People of Earth," the message began. "We are the Kethmer Dominion. We have come to claim your world. You have 2 choices. Surrender now and serve us, or be destroyed. You have 24 hours to decide." Admiral Vextar smiled as he sent the message.
Ow.
This was always his favorite part. The moment when primitive species realized how hopeless their situation was. He had seen it dozens of times. First came the panic, then the desperate attempts to negotiate, then the final surrender. It was always the same, but something strange happened on Earth. Instead of panic, the human governments began to work together. World leaders who had been enemies for decades suddenly started cooperating. Military commanders who had never spoken to each other began sharing battle plans. Scientists who had competed for research funding started sharing their discoveries freely in the United Nations building in New York. Representatives from every nation gathered for an emergency meeting. They had never agreed on anything before. They fought about trade, about borders, about resources. But now they all agreed on one thing. "We will not surrender," said the Secretary General. "We will fight." The decision was unanimous. 200 countries, speaking dozens of languages, following different religions and cultures, all agreed. They would rather die as free humans than live as alien slaves. Admiral Vextar received the human response 23 hours later. He had expected either a complete surrender or a plea for better terms. Instead, he got a single word broadcast from every human transmission station on the planet at the same time. "No." The alien admiral stared at the message in confusion. No primitive species had ever rejected his ultimatum before. They always surrendered when they saw the size of his fleet. They always chose slavery over death. "Perhaps they do not understand," said his second-in-command. "Should we explain again that resistance is impossible?" Vextar's eyes narrowed. "They understand perfectly. They are choosing to fight a battle they cannot win. This makes them either very brave or very stupid." Showing Earth's defenses, the humans had nuclear weapons, but only a few hundred. They had aircraft, but nothing that could reach space. They had armies, but no way to get them off their planet. By every calculation, the The humans should lose this war in a matter of days. But something bothered the admiral. In all his years of conquest, he had never seen a species unite so quickly in the face of invasion. Usually primitive civilizations collapsed into panic and chaos. They fought each other instead of the invaders. They competed to be the first to surrender. These humans were different. They were acting like a single organism instead of billions of individuals. They were sharing resources, knowledge, and battle plans without hesitation. They were preparing to fight as one species. "Begin the attack," Vexstar ordered. "Show them what happens when primitives challenge the Dominion." The first plasma bolts lit up Earth's sky like deadly fireworks. The war had begun. The sun rose over a world on fire. Alien plasma cannons had turned entire cities into pools of melted glass and twisted metal. But from the smoking ruins, humans crawled out with guns in their hands and fury in their hearts. "Lieutenant," Commander Lee, Jae-sung crouched behind a pile of concrete that had once been an apartment building in Busan. His uniform was torn and dirty, his face covered in dust and blood. But his eyes were sharp as he watched the alien soldiers march toward his position. "Sir," came a voice through his broken radio. It was Sergeant Park Sejin, hiding 2 blocks away. "The aliens are coming. Through Sector 7. They're using the same attack pattern as yesterday." Jae-sung smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a hunter who had laid a perfect trap. "Good," he said quietly. "And they're about to learn something about humans. We don't make the same mistake twice." The Kethmar ground troops moved like machines. Their formation was perfect. Their timing was exact. They'd used these same tactics to conquer dozens of worlds. Every step was planned. Every movement was calculated. They were sure of victory, but they were walking into a trap. The humans had watched their attack yesterday. They had studied every movement, every tactic, every weakness. While the aliens slept confident in their superiority, the humans had worked through the night. They had moved their weapons. They had changed their positions. They had prepared a surprise. When the aliens reached the center of the trap, Jae-sung gave the signal. Human fighters emerged from hiding places the aliens had not even noticed. They attacked from directions the Kethmar had not expected. In minutes, the perfect alien formation was broken and scattered. "How is this possible?" demanded the alien commander, as his soldiers fell around him. "These primitives fought differently yesterday. They should not be able to adapt so quickly." But the humans were already gone, melting back into the ruins like ghosts. They had learned something important. The aliens might be stronger and have better weapons, but they were slow to change. They followed the same patterns over and over. Humans could use that weakness against them. Deep underground. In a laboratory that had once been a subway station, Dr. Yoon Soo-men worked by the light of emergency lamps. Round her, pieces of alien technology lay scattered on makeshift tables. She'd been working for 3 weeks straight, sleeping only a few hours each night. "This should be impossible," she muttered as she connected human wires to alien power cells. "Their technology is completely different from ours. The energy frequencies don't match. Materials are unknown. Nothing should work." But somehow, she was making it work. Humans had always been good at taking things apart and putting them back together in new ways. They had learned to use fire to forge metal to harness electricity. Now they were learning to use alien technology. "Doctor," said her assistant, Dr. Kong Haeon-woo, looking worried at his monitoring equipment. "The power coupling is not stable. The energy readings are jumping up and down. It could explode at any moment." Sumin wiped the sweat from her forehead and looked at the hybrid weapon she had built. It was ugly, made from human computers and alien energy cells held together with wire and determination. "But it worked. Then we make it stable," she said. "The aliens brought us their technology. Now we show them what humans can do with it." She made a final adjustment to the power coupling. The energy readings stabilized. The weapon was ready. That night, the first human-alien hybrid weapon fired into the dark sky. A beam of pure energy shot upward and struck a Kethmar patrol ship. The alien vessel exploded in a ball of fire and crashed into the ocean. Around the world, similar scenes were playing out. In the ruins of London, British engineers had built alien weapons into their tanks. In the mountains of Afghanistan, fighters had created alien-powered explosives. In the Amazon rainforest, scientists had combined alien technology with human computers to create new communication systems. The aliens had expected the humans to fight with primitive weapons. They had planned for nuclear missiles and chemical explosives. They had not planned for humans to steal their technology and improve it. Commander Deximer received the reports from his troops with growing confusion. "Sir," his lieutenant reported, "the humans are using our own weapons against us. But they have modified them. They work differently now. They are more effective than our original designs." "Impossible," Deximer growled. "These primitives cannot understand our technology. They lack the scientific knowledge." But the evidence was clear. Human scientists were not just copying alien technology, they were making it better. They were combining it with human ideas in ways that the aliens had never thought of. The Kethmer had conquered many worlds, but they had never faced an enemy like this. Other species either surrendered quickly or fought with their own primitive weapons until they were crushed. But humans were different, they learned. They adapted. They took every defeat and turned it into a lesson. In just 3 weeks, they had gone from throwing rocks at alien ships to shooting them down with hybrid weapons. They had turned their greatest weakness into their greatest strength. The aliens were beginning to understand that they were not fighting a primitive species. They were fighting something far more dangerous. They were fighting a species that got stronger with every battle. Commander Kexmore stared at the reports on his screen with disbelief. The numbers made no sense. His forces should have conquered this planet weeks ago. Instead, they were losing ground every day. The humans were not just fighting back. They were getting better at it. "Sir," his tactical officer said nervously, "we have lost another patrol unit. Humans destroyed it with weapons that use our own plasma technology." Kexmore's claws scraped against his command chair. "That is impossible. These primitives do not understand our science. We cannot even travel between stars properly." But the evidence was right in front of him. Human soldiers were carrying weapons that glowed with alien energy. They had somehow taken Kethmer technology and made it work with their own systems. Worse, they had made it work better. "How are they doing this?" Kexmore demanded. His science officer looked frightened. "They do not." "No, sir. They are combining our technology with theirs in ways that should not function. But somehow it does function. Their weapons are now more effective than ours." Far below, in the ruins of Seoul, Captain Han Baror crouched behind a collapsed building. Her team of 12 soldiers waited for her signal. Each one carried a weapon that looked strange and deadly. The guns were part human metal and part alien crystal, held together with wire and human determination. "Target acquired," she whispered into her radio. "Alien command post, 2 kilometers northeast. They have heavy shields and guard towers." Second in command, Lieutenant Kim Sung-ho, checked his weapon. 3 months ago, he had been a simple infantry soldier with a rifle that shot metal bullets. Now he carried a gun that fired beams of pure energy. He had learned to use it by watching alien soldiers and copying their techniques. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "their shields are designed to stop our old weapons. But these new ones should cut right through." Biora nodded. She had been fighting the aliens for 6 months now. In that time, she had learned to think like them. She knew their patrol patterns. She knew their weaknesses. She knew how they reacted to different types of attacks. Remember she told her? "Team, they expect us to attack from the south, like we did last week. That's why they reinforced their southern defenses. But we're going to hit them from the north, where they think we can't reach." The team moved through the ruins like shadows. They had learned to be quiet, to use the destroyed buildings as cover, to move in ways that alien sensors could not detect. Every lesson had been paid for with blood. But they had learned. The alien command post was a fortress of metal and energy shields. Guard towers watched every approach. Patrol units moved in careful patterns around the perimeter. To attack? But Biora had studied this base for weeks. She knew that the guards changed shifts every 4 hours. She knew that the shields had a blind spot near the north wall. She knew that the patrol units always took the same routes. Now, she whispered, her team struck like lightning. They're hybrid. Weapons cut through alien shields like paper. Energy beams melted through armor that had been designed to stop human bullets. In minutes, the supposedly impregnable fortress was burning. The alien commander inside tried to send a distress signal, but human jamming devices blocked his communications. He reached for his weapon, but a human soldier was already there, faster than he expected. "Surrender," Biora said in broken alien language. She had learned their words by listening to captured communications. The alien commander looked at her with 4 eyes full of fear. This was not supposed to happen. Humans were primitive. They were weak. They were supposed to be easy to defeat. But this human stood before him with weapons that used his own technology, speaking his own language, having outfought his best soldiers. She was not primitive. She was terrifying. 3 kilometers away, Dr. Zhang Wujin watched the battle through his binoculars. His mobile laboratory was hidden in the ruins of a shopping mall, surrounded by equipment that monitored alien movements and communications. "Fascinating," he said to his assistant, making notes on his tablet. "The humans are not just copying alien tactics. They are predicting them. They are thinking 3 steps ahead." He had been studying human and alien behavior since the war began. What he had discovered amazed him. The aliens were more advanced, but they were also more predictable. They followed the same patterns over and over. They used the same strategies. On every world they conquered, but humans were different. They learned from every battle. They adapted to every new threat. They took every defeat and turned it into knowledge that made them stronger. "Sir," his assistant said, "the attack is over. Captain Bjor's team has destroyed the alien command post. They are returning to base." Wujin smiled as he wrote his report. "The humans are not just adapting to new threats," he typed. "They are evolving beyond them. They are becoming something the aliens have never faced before." Across the planet, similar scenes were playing out. Human soldiers were using alien technology to win battles that should have been impossible. Human scientists were improving alien designs in ways that alien engineers had never considered. The Kethmer had come to Earth expecting to fight primitives. Instead, they were fighting an enemy that grew stronger with every engagement. An enemy that learned from every mistake. An enemy that was becoming more dangerous than they had ever imagined. The alien supply ships moved slowly through space, near Jupiter's moons, carrying weapons and food to the Kethmer forces on Earth. The convoy commander felt safe. These primitive humans had no real spaceships. They could barely reach their own moon with their crude rockets. Then the attack came from nowhere, Captain. Name Haijin watched through the view screen of her ship as alien vessels exploded in balls of fire. Her ship had once been a simple cargo hauler carrying supplies between Earth and the space stations. Now it was a weapon of war, covered in alien guns and powered by captured alien engines. "Direct hit on the lead transport," reported her weapons officer, Lieutenant Park Minho. "Their shields are down." Haijin smiled coldly. "Good target the next ship. Remember, we are not just defending our home anymore. We're hunting them." Her crew worked with deadly precision. They had learned to fight in space by studying captured alien manuals. They had learned to use alien weapons by taking them apart and putting them back together. They had learned to think like hunters instead of prey. The alien convoy tried to escape. But the humans had studied their movement patterns. They knew which direction the aliens would run. They knew how fast their ships could go. They knew where to place their own ships to cut off the retreat. What followed was not a battle. It was a massacre. The human ships moved like sharks in water, striking fast and disappearing before the aliens could fight back. They used tactics that made no sense. 2 alien mines. They attacked from multiple directions at once. They used their own damaged ships as weapons, ramming them into alien vessels. Within an hour, the entire convoy was destroyed. Not a single alien ship escaped. On the Dominion flagship, Admiral Vextar stared at the tactical display with growing horror. The red dots that represented his ships were disappearing one by one. The blue dots that represented human ships were moving in ways that should have been impossible. "How are they doing this?" he demanded of his science officer. "These humans have no space fleet. They have no experience with deep space combat. They should not be able to fight us out here. His science officer looked terrified. Sir, they have modified their cargo ships and passenger vessels. They have armed them with our own weapons. They are using our own technology against us. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was how the humans fought. They did not follow any known military doctrine. They broke every rule of space. Combat. They did things that should have gotten them killed. But somehow it worked. They seemed to have weaponized their own creativity, the science officer continued. Every time we defeat them, they learn from it. Then, every time they lose, they become stronger. They are not fighting like any species we have encountered before. Vexstar had conquered 37 worlds in his career. He had fought dozens of different species, but he had never seen anything like this. The humans were not just adapting to alien tactics. They were creating entirely new ways of fighting. On Earth's surface, Ground Commander Texfer sent another desperate report to the fleet. His forces had been fighting the humans for 8 months now, and the situation was getting worse every day. Sir, he reported, the humans are no longer behaving like a primitive species. They are using our own weapons, but they have improved. They are using our own tactics, but they have made them more effective. He paused, trying to find words for what he was seeing. They turn their own weaknesses into strengths. When we destroy their cities, they use the ruins as fortresses. We kill their leaders, new ones emerge who are even more dangerous. We capture their technology. They learn to use ours better than we do. The humans were doing something that no other species had ever done. They were learning faster than the Kethmer could adapt. Every battle taught them something new. Every defeat made them stronger. Sir Texfer continued, I do not think we are fighting a primitive species anymore. I think we are fighting something that grows stronger with each engagement, something that learns from every mistake, something that becomes more dangerous every day. In orbit around Earth, human ships that had once carried tourists and cargo now hunted alien vessels like wolves hunting deer. Captain Lee Dong-wook commanded a converted passenger liner that now bristled with alien weapons. His crew had learned to fight in space by watching alien pilots and copying their techniques. Target acquired, he reported to the other human ships. Alien destroyer heading for the outer system. It looks damaged. The alien ship was trying to escape, but the humans had learned to predict their retreat patterns. They knew where wounded alien ships would go. They knew how to cut off their escape routes. This is for Seoul, Lee whispered as he fired the killing shot. The alien destroyer exploded in silence, its crew dead before they could send a distress signal. Another enemy ship was gone. Another small victory for humanity, but it was more than a victory. It was proof that humans had become something the aliens had never expected. They were no longer the hunted. They had become the hunters. The Kethmar had come to Earth expecting to fight primitives armed with crude weapons. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that used their own technology against them, that learned from every defeat, that grew stronger with every battle. The hunters had become the hunted. Admiral Vexstar stood alone on the bridge of his flagship, watching the last of his ships limp away from Earth's solar system. Half of his mighty fleet was gone, destroyed by an enemy he had dismissed as primitive just 1 year ago. His hands shook as he prepared his final report to the Dominion High Command. This is Admiral Vexstar, he began, his voice tired and broken. I am sending my final report on the conquest of the third planet in the Sol system. This is not a standard victory report. He paused, looking at the tactical display that showed human ships chasing his retreating forces. Ships that had been impossible just months ago, ships built from human cargo vessels and powered by alien technology that the humans had somehow improved. The species called humans cannot be classified as primitive, he continued. They possess something we have never encountered before. They can turn any threat into an advantage. They can take any defeat and make it into a victory. They learn faster than we can adapt. His science officer approached with the final casualty reports. 70% of their ground forces were dead. 40% of their fleet was destroyed. The rest were fleeing in panic, carrying stories that would terrify the entire Dominion. Sir, the science officer said quietly. The humans are no longer pursuing us. They have stopped at the edge of their solar system. Vexstar nodded. The humans had won, but they were not interested in conquest. They had simply wanted to be left alone, but now they were something else, something dangerous, something that would change everything. On Earth, President Park Ji-sung stood before the cameras in the rebuilt United Nations building. Behind him, the flags of every nation on Earth flew together. The flags were torn and burned from the war, but they flew as one. Unity had been forged in fire and blood. My fellow humans, he began, his voice carrying to every corner of the planet. We did not choose this fight. We did not ask for this war, but we chose how to fight it. We chose to learn.
Yes.
We chose to adapt. We chose to become something more than we were. The crowd that had gathered in the ruins of New York cheered. They were survivors, all of them. They had lost friends and family. They had lost their homes and their cities. But they had won something more valuable. They had won their freedom and their future. Today we are not the same species that the aliens attacked 1 year ago, Park continued. We are stronger, are smarter, we are united, and we are free. In her new laboratory built from the wreckage of Seoul, Dr. Song Myung finished her report on alien technology. She had spent months studying captured alien weapons and ships. What she had discovered would change human civilization forever. The aliens brought us their technology thinking it would be used to build our cages, she wrote in her report. Instead, we used it to build wings. We have learned to travel between stars. We have learned to harness energy from the sun itself. We have learned to build ships that can cross the galaxy. Her assistant, Dr. Cho Hyensu, looked up from his work on a new type of engine that combined human and alien designs. Doctor, the test results are ready. The new ships are 3 times faster than anything the aliens had? Song smiled. The humans had not just copied alien technology, they had improved it. They had made it better. They had taken the tools of their enemies and turned them into something new. Across the city, Major General Kwon Tae-ho walked through the construction site where Seoul was being rebuilt. The new city would be unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Buildings that reached toward the stars, powered by fusion reactors that humans had learned to build from alien designs. Transportation systems that used anti-gravity technology that the aliens had never thought to use for civilian purposes. Sir, his aide said, the alien refugees are asking for permission to stay on Earth. Tae-ho nodded. Some of the Kethmer soldiers had refused to leave with their fleet. They had seen what humans could do. They had seen how humans treated their enemies with mercy instead of cruelty. They wanted to be part of this new world. Tell them they are welcome, he said. We will teach them what it means to be human. We'll show them that strength comes not from domination, but from cooperation. He looked up at the sky where human ships now patrolled the edges of the solar system. Ships that had been impossible just months ago. Ships that proved humans belonged among the stars. We thought they were bringing us war, he said to his aide. Instead, we taught them fear. But more than that, we taught them respect. The surviving. Kethmer ships carried the story across the galaxy. They told of a species that could not be conquered. A species that grew stronger with every challenge. A species that turned every threat into an opportunity. The Dominion High Command issued new orders to all their fleets. Earth was to be avoided. Humans were to be left alone. The species that had been marked for easy conquest was now marked as too dangerous to fight. But the humans were not interested in conquest. They were interested in exploration. They were interested in learning. They were interested in building something better. The galaxy now knew something new. Some species earned their place among the stars not through superior technology, but through an indomitable will to survive and surpass any challenge. Humanity had proven that they did not just endure, they overcame.